Hello everybody, Yogi here. Hope everybody's doing well. I am doing well. As you might know by now, through some of the videos that I've done, some of the episodes that I've done over the past year and a couple months, I am into the paranormal. I am a paranormal investigator, kind of a side gig for me. Kind of sort of have a group going. We're out there, but it's not like we're actively promoting it. My sister and I have done a ghost tour in a different city, Appleton, which is north of where I am. It's in the Fox Cities area, about 60 miles or so. We do a ghost tour. We have done it in the last couple of years. Last year was not a good year, obviously, due to COVID. A lot of people didn't want to come out, even though the walks were outside and you were, wear a mask, be 6 feet apart if you want. It was a really bad year for that kind of a tour. So I don't know what our plans are for this year yet. I have to talk to my sister. She will be coming with me next month on my next road trip. This one is going to go down south to a couple of states I have not visited. And that's about all I'm going to say right now. But we do plan on doing some paranormal things while we're down there. Now, where I'm going to be taking us today is a community in Dodge County. And a really interesting event, paranormal event, happened there back in the 1980s, mid to late 1980s. So, we'll tell you more about that when we get to that particular town. So come along with me, folks, and join me on this episode of Road Trips with Yogi. Horicon, Wisconsin is a city in Dodge County, Wisconsin, situated pretty much in the middle of the county. The 2010 census has the population at 3,655. It is at the southernmost tip of the Horicon Marsh, which is the main attraction in that area. Tourists flock to the area every year to see the migration of Canadian geese. Alan and Deborah Tallmann moved their young family into South Larabee Street home in the spring of 1986. The couple had 2 children, a boy aged 7 and a daughter not quite a year old. Deborah was pregnant and would give birth to another daughter later that year. The couple was actually from the area. Now, South Larabee Street is a short roadway extending only a few blocks at the edge of Horicon near a small wetland. The first few months in their home were uneventful, but within a short time, Deborah and Alan Tallmann began to notice changes in their home and family, a transformation so subtle that it wasn't until much later that they were able to understand its significance. It was after a couple months, Deborah remembered, we were just sick all the time. Alan's personality began to change. He was easily irritated. He often argued with Deborah over trivial matters, and even threatened to leave the family and went on a drinking binge. The Tallmanns bought a 6-month-old kitten, and it seemed fine in the first few weeks, but then the cat went berserk. She would actually climb the walls. Sometimes she would come flying across the living room and climb right up a door. She once crashed into a wall. The Tallmanns wanted a night out before their next baby was born. They hired a babysitter, a girl of 16, who had babysat for them before, and made plans to dine at a favorite restaurant in a nearby city. Their serene evening ended abruptly when they returned home. The babysitter rushed to meet them. She blurted out a fantastic story that left Alan and Deborah skeptical. While the girl and 7-year-old son, Kenny, played with a board game in the kitchen, a chair at the table started rocking back and forth. It bounced around and then suddenly stopped. The girl was visibly shaken by the incident. There was a room switch at the Tallmann home that seemed to open up a whole new door of paranormal activity. On the same day, they moved their son Kenny into his bedroom. They put a clock radio in there. He would go to bed with the radio on, and then it would shut off after he had fallen asleep. But Kenny came running back out a few minutes later this time. He said the radio had begun to change stations, only this time he saw the knob turn and the tuning indicator spin across the dial. The next incident, Alan was in the basement, turning into a finished basement by painting the walls. He was interrupted by Deborah, who had asked him to come upstairs so he could put the children to sleep. He took the paintbrush and laid it right across the paint tray. I was upstairs probably a half hour, 45 minutes at the most. I went back downstairs, and my paintbrush had been pulled out of the pan and was jammed upside down in a can of paint. On the Sunday before Christmas, a new chapter was added to the family's woes. 8-year-old Kenny had an encounter with a mysterious figure, a 3-foot-tall, hideous-looking, wrinkled old woman. Kenny came into our room and said that he woke up to see this lady standing by his door. When I went with him to his room, I didn't see anything. He said she was very old, very ugly, and had a glow around her like a fire. She had a long black hair. About 5 minutes later, he called to me that she was standing there again. Deborah suggested it might be an angel. Kenny responded by saying she's too homely to be an angel. Alan arrived home from work just before 1 o'clock a few days later on January 7th, 1988. As he put his key in the front door lock, a faint whistling followed by a gust of wind came from the direction of the garage door. The wind became stronger as he turned the door handle to go inside. Suddenly, a soft but commanding voice called out, "Come here." He had to find out where the voice came from. I just couldn't find anything, so I started back up the sidewalk to the porch when it started again, a howling noise. He started to put his key in the door once again, and there was another voice. The voice said, "Come here," only it was real loud this time. Alan quickly looked back over his shoulder. I saw this glowing coming from the garage. It got brighter and brighter. Flames were coming out from my garage, and then the eyes appeared in the overhead door. Shimmering green eyes, punctuated with blood-red pupils, seemed to float in the wide door. Eyes that matched the description of those seen by his mother months before. Sunday, January 10th, would be a turning point for the family. Alan was lying on the floor, waiting for the girls to get ready to fall asleep. He was just about ready to get up when he heard this high-pitched sound. He sat right up and looked, but it died back down. He laid back down, and it came right back. He thought it was a furnace pipe. Suddenly, rising from the carpeted floor came fog. At first less than a foot in height, the misty substance grew until it reached nearly to the ceiling. Alan shrank against the wall as the vapor took on the form of a body. A head formed, 2 penetrating red eyes with sickly green pupils fixed intently on Alan. A translucent arm came up and pointed, the entire shape moving inexorably toward him. A voice, as if from the grave, spoke to him. "You're dead." But as it seemed to just about to envelop him, the figure disappeared in a burst of flame. Monday, January 11th dawned bright and very cold. This would be the last day the Tallmanns would spend in their house on Larabee Street. Deborah Tallmann relives those final hours. I had a habit of getting the kids ready for bed about 8 o'clock. My nephew Jonathan was back there with the kids, and she was doing the dishes, and all of a sudden he started screaming, "Debbie, Debbie, come quick, please come back here." Kenny had run into the living room. Deborah told him to go back and see what was wrong. I can't, Kenny cried back. Deborah screamed at him to go to the bedroom and come back and tell her what had happened. "Mom, it's there, I can see it," Kenny breathlessly said as he ran back into the living room. As they drove to the church later that night, Jonathan told Alan what had taken place. Marianne and Sarah had been tucked in bed. Jonathan yawned and turned over onto his stomach, his face towards the partially open bedroom door. Suddenly, Sarah jumped up in bed. "Hi there," she called out. "Hi there." Hovering near Sarah's bed was a human figure, too indistinct to determine its sex, but nearly the same as the one Alan witnessed a few days before. It moved towards Jonathan, and as it did, it issued forth the words, "Now you're involved." But as it moved forward, it seemed to dissipate and was gone before it reached him. After Alan heard the entire story, he realized that this had been their last night on Larabee Street. They soon moved out of the house, but not before media and newspaper accounts of what had happened to their home started making its way across the state and the country. The Tallmann Haunting would be featured on Unsolved Mysteries, hosted by Robert Stack. The title of the episode was The Burning Bed. Somehow, it turns out that there was a bed, a bunk bed that was built and put into the bedroom when the rooms were switched, and that apparently set things in motion. However, it's just a weird story that's had my attention ever since probably the early 90s when I first heard about it. I had first heard about it in a book called Haunted Heritage by Michael Norman and Beth Scott, which I used some excerpts of the story, Something Evil on Larabee Street, in this episode. And to this day, the Tallmanns have moved on, and for some reason I keep getting drawn back to Horicon. It's still ingrained in my memory, the haunting that happened there. Thanks to everybody who has watched, subscribed, commented on my videos. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please go to www.patreon.com/roadtripswithyogi and consider a small monthly donation to help support my channel. Until the next one, folks, I am Yogi, and I am out of here.